The rush to EVs a few years ago saw a lot of automakers jump the gun, essentially, and begin to invest colossal amounts into developing their own products. Now, as you can see, to my right is the new Cadillac Lyriq. GM was one of the forerunners, if you will, that began investing severely in platforms and EV technology. And when I say colossal, you probably know this already, but we're talking billions and billions and billions of dollars. Now, in order to not make their EVs, such as a Lyriq, which is a mid-size, mid-brand model, not cost $180,000, well, what you do usually is you look for economies of scale. And one of the ways is find an automaker that needs help with developing EVs. Enter Acura and Honda. Now, this is really not unusual. Platform sharing is something that a lot of automakers have been doing for decades and decades. I mean, even in the EV game right now, think about the Subaru Solterra and the Toyota BZ4X, and there are a number of other examples. But there's something going on here, which is why we really wanted to compare both the Cadillac Lyriq and the new Acura ZDX. We wanted to see, well, if there was something going on, I'm repeating myself, but see, what you see is kind of the same, but it really isn't the same, but it's still the same. I'll explain as the video progresses. I can't help myself, but I have to bring this up. This pairing of same vehicles kind of reminds me of the Dodge Grand Caravan and Volkswagen Rutan scheme, if you will, where you could buy, Dodge Grand Caravan for about $19,000 and pay twice as much for Volkswagen Rutan for the exact same product. But it's not that bad when it comes to these two products. But yes, the rush to EVs is going to do a lot of things, and the ZDX, more so than the Lyriq, seems to me like it's a disposable EV. I know what I'm saying right now is horrible, but hear me out. As you probably know, the original generation ZDX was a massive flop. Absolutely original, unlike anything else. It kind of half spawned, the trend of coupe-styled SUVs, but that's not what's happening here. But what is happening is that I think Acura knew exactly what they were doing when they birthed a new ZDX, and that was, well, we're gonna build it. It's not ours, it's theirs. And once we get our machines going, our EV products, technologies, and platforms going, we might just pull the plug on the ZDX and launch our own line of EVs. So this is just me speculating, looking into the future, thinking that there won't be another ZDX after this one because it's anything but Acura. Anyhow, so many things said. As always, in the following video, we will compare, obviously, this 2024 Cadillac Lyriq and this 2025 Acura ZDX. We're going to do walkarounds of both, jump from one to the other, and then I'm going to take them both for a spin and give you my driving impressions. So please hang in there. Okay, so in the previous shot, we got a good look at the front ends of both of these vehicles. And as you can very well see, there is a massive difference. The Lyriq looks far more expensive, far more aggressive than the ZDX. So now the next step is pricing. As it sits before you, this Lyriq Sport 3 retails for just over $89,000, whereas the ZDX, and Sport 3 by the way is the top trim with the Luxury 3, whereas the ZDX is an A-Spec, which is the base level trim. There's also a Type S, and it retails for just over $85,000. So essentially there's a $4,000 difference between the two. And I think between you and I, just by glancing at the side shots, one looks rich and one looks poorish, let's just say. The specs on this, the visual specs, is that one of the reasons why the pricing is, well, not considerably, but higher, is because we have a tri-coat pearl white paint color as well as the optional black top. Just that is responsible for over $2,500 in the difference between the two. The ZDX also has the optional white color. But where it gets a little bit, well, spicier for the Lyriq, you get 22-inch wheels versus 20-inch wheels on the ZDX. And look, I'm a fan of sidewalls, but when you're in this price range, you want less of it, especially, and I'll give you a little bit of a hint right now, when it changes nothing in the ride quality, which is usually my main gripe. More sidewall, more comfort, doesn't apply here. How about that? Now if we walk back, just so you get an idea, maybe on the side like this, wheelbase is identical at just millimeters shy of 3.1 meters. Over the Smart 4.2, it was just over 2.5 meters long. You could actually fit maybe a Smart 4.4, you know, a four-seater 4 version. Anyway, the overall dimensions are almost identical in both cases. I think they have to agree with you. Just with the other details. You have these pop-out door handles, which are actually kind of cool. But you get in this, and you get some regular door handles with a button. These are intelligent. These ones you have to push the button to lock and unlock. Do you remember what I just said in the intro, where the ZDX was kind of a, I don't want to say throwaway. Throwaway sounds bad, but the way it's priced, it's packaged, and we're going to continue to explore the ZDX. It seems like it was semi-set up for a fail. And by the way, as we're recording this video in September of 2024, both are already discounted by important amounts, I have to say. I don't know, it's up to you to decide which you prefer, but I kind of like the styling of the Celestiq. If you look at the Lyriq's rear end, the tail light treatment, you definitely see where the Celestiq and where Cadillac's design language is evolving to. Whereas this is very accurate, absolutely. But I'm going to stare like you at them. And one definitely looks far more expensive, and the other one looks far more budget conscious. And yeah, let's continue and let's go explore the interiors of the ZDX and Lyriq. Alrighty, friend. So I want to preface what I'm about to say and show you, and perhaps I'm looking to apologize in a way that what I want to say is the ZDX, whatever you prefer, is not a bad vehicle. On its own, it actually makes, as an electric SUV, a fair amount of sense. But it's when you, compared to this, things kind of fall apart. And well, obviously that's the premise behind a comparison test. So as I told you, the same wheelbase, same platform. So I'll show you the trunk here. 793 liters is what you get, which is actually really good. It's good depth, very wide, accessible. It's brilliant. It definitely works as a family hauler, Costco monster. I don't want to bring your attention to the switch for the power hatch. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so well, you can keep this in mind too. The door handles, right? Locked, unlocked. It's not an actual intelligent door handle. You have to press the button. Details, but they kind of accumulate. The interior as a whole is very, very Acura. So it's very monochromatic black with, so you have red cross stitching, but the fit finish materials are quite nice. Everything really, it's premium Acura is what it is. Speaking of premium Acura, the seats in the back, and I'll show the front ones, really, really nice. Keep this in mind too. You can fit 3 across here, adults. It actually works. Despite the fact that it's kind of got a dip in the seat. It might be a little bit less comfortable, but you can definitely do that. One of the best things about these things with such a long wheelbase is that you practically have a hallway back here for the kids to walk in and out of. And speaking of kids, I'll show you in the Lyriq. I've got my 2 baby seats in there. Okay, so switch gears, same idea, right? Just like some different texture surfaces, but they really all do blend into each other. There's not much going on. Everything is lovely. The seats are absolutely very, very nice. Very typical Acura with massive bolstering, very nice cushion. I'm really trying hard. It's a premium place. So let's just step aboard. I'm going to start it up. So that's your 11-inch digital instrument cluster, your 11.3-inch touchscreen display. There's no other way to put this, but if I had a Blazer EV here, you'd be looking at the same thing. So Blazer EV kind of stuff. Good buttons, switch gear again here. You have the 2 levels of buttons. I absolutely love that. Rotary knobs, everything is extremely functional. I guess, okay, drive mode customize it. Let's just do that right away. So your drive mode button is down here, so it's quickly accessible and it changes your modes up here. As you may have noticed, right, drive mode customization, you can work your individual mode here. That's just a detail. USB-C port, decent storage, things kind of slide. Cup holders, charger. This is massively huge. Speaking of massively huge, large panoramic sunroof. What you're looking at is like I said, it's quality Acura stuff. Visibility is excellent when you come around here. You can see it there. I love the steering wheel. Excellent grip. Actual buttons. Very, very nice in this A-spec. But keep the price in mind, right? For what this costs, what it retails for, and what you get. A few other details. Okay, so that's your charge port. You know, very typical, very normal, and it closes. What I'm trying to say, right, it's a good electric SUV, but remember, about $3,000 difference as they sit before you, and it doesn't even compare. As I walk closer, it should. We have the light game going on. No, but this is your button to open the hatch. There it is. There's the lights, LEDs all around. They just dance for you. You can almost hear them because there's so much going on. Nothing to show here. Everything is basically the same, but it's just the treatment, the lights, the LEDs. There's so much. And the door handles are intelligent too because they pop out as you walk by them. I don't mind this type of door handle, but it's not my favorite. But the type of door handle I do love, these are the most ergonomic, smartest door handles ever. In the ZDX, you have your typical pull-out handles. These, the best possible. Anyway, now you're starting to get a little bit of a better idea of the contrasting materials and textures. AKG speaker, it's far more premium. Bench is about the same here. You can see with the baby seats, you can squeeze an adult between the two. It's impressive. Same amount of room. You know, a few more details going on here in the seat backs. It's a lot. There's a lot. And it just keeps getting a lot. Again, AKG, right? The trim pieces, the accents, and then this 33-inch curved display. Seats actually are not quite as supportive as in the Acura. We'll give that, you know, Cadillac said you can have the seats, but they're still very comfortable. Both, by the way, have the same kind of storage under the center console. Let's just jump aboard. It's a whole I should have allowed the display to do its thing, but there's animation. Like the Acura, a lot of great working things as far as the menus are concerned. Everything works out beautifully, but definitely you have a sense that this is something of an event going on. There's a lot of information. You have your menus here, right? Your displays and your touchscreen, and you actually have a rotary knob here with your volume, shortcuts for the menus. Just very, very Cadillac switch gears for the HVAC. Contrary to the ZDX, your drive modes are accessible through here, so a little bit of a less sporty, involving thing than pressing a button there, but that's a detail, I suppose. Steering wheel is nice too, but I can't stand the oversized spokes and this haptic business. But storage is great too. There's no sense in doing, but you know, from this point of view, look at the different colors and the different accents and just the way the vents are laid out, and the controls, massaging seats, by the way, are laid out, and doors, visibility is great, but it's just so much more premium. And there's just two other things that I want to show you. This, I think it'll work the first time. Yeah. Okay, it kind of looks pathetic when it opens up, but there's, you know, a little bit of drama going on here. So that's a little bit of a touch. You get the same thing in the Blazer, by the way. I don't know how many years that'll last. But the other one is just see the back of the screen is a Cadillac logo. It's a touch. These are the details that make a huge difference. Anyhow, at this point in time, my friend, we are going to hit the road in the ZDX and the Lyriq. Okay, on board the ZDX, and finally I'm crawling out of back to school traffic. Is it me, or it gets worse every year? But anyway, so we're out. Okay, so now I can tell you about the similarities between the two EVs. Both have a 102 kilowatt hour battery, obviously the same platform and all of that. and both are capable of up to 190 kilowatts of charging. So in 2024 into 2025, anything close to 200 kilowatts as far as DC fast charging is acceptable. Both the Lyriq and the ZDX have the dual motor all-wheel drive setups, but power varies slightly. So the ZDX A-Spec, 490 horsepower, 437 pound-feet of torque. The A-Spec is 500 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque. So as far as, you know, the Type S's that we've come to love and appreciate, it's not really, you know, like the TLX and the Integra, not really the same type of IDS, Type S. But the power is still, I'm configured my individual, so I have the throttle response in sport. No, not traffic again, for real. Unbelievable. Okay, I don't understand what's going on this year. But, okay, so the power is good. Of the similarities, yet dissimilarities, the ZDX weighs 5,900 pounds, whereas the Lyriq is just over 5,600 pounds. So that does translate into a slight performance difference, but we're talking about mere tenths of a second. I'll give you the output for the Lyriq once I get behind the wheel. Other similarities are the 5-link suspension setup, both in the front and in the rear for this vehicle. I'm telling you, I didn't show you, but the size of the front shock towers in the ZDX, I don't recall the last time I saw shock towers this big in a normal vehicle. So I guess that tells you that what GM wanted and Acura accepted is a certain amount of sporty handling and various capabilities. However, ride comfort is not where it should be. I mean, on the highway, it feels nice. There's a sense of weight behind the controls and the way the vehicle handles. So that's nice. But once you get off the highway and you get onto your typical urban roads, such as now, you can absolutely feel everything going on. And it's not that it's unpleasant, but it's borderline annoying. And this is with the 20s in the ZDX compared to the Lyriq, the 22s. I'll tell you about that very shortly. But yeah, see, just slight little bumps like that. This is not comfortable enough, and it's not meant to be. It's mild expansion joint, and it feels like it was 3 inches tall almost. Yeah, ride comfort is not there. Steering feel is fine, brakes are fine. Oh yes, speaking of brakes. So there's a 1-pedal mode, on and off. And what GM did a number of years ago with the first Bolt is that they introduced a brake regen paddle switch on the steering wheel, which I absolutely loved, and is available here in the ZDX. So you squeeze it and then it comes to a certain stop eventually. But in the Lyriq, it has the same thing, but it's not the same. Again, kind of like what I was saying, same but not the same. I'll tell you about that very shortly. What else can I tell you about the drive in the ZDX? There's one thing I touched on but I didn't show you, and I said it in the Blazer, is that I like to steady my hand on the screen. I'm doing it now, you can't see it, but I don't know if you can hear this. Maybe not. But if you just put a mild amount of pressure on the back of the screen, you hear the same cracking and plasticky noises you got in the Blazer, which is just unacceptable. Unacceptable in a vehicle this price. But look, range is far more than decent at 489 kilometers. Different with the Lyriq as well. It's like I said just previously, as we did the walk around inside kind of deal, it's a really good, very acceptable, not really good, but it's a good, more than acceptable electric premium SUV. But, you know, across the road in the other showroom where the Caddy is, I don't know. I don't know how Acura expects to move a few of these. In fact, I have not seen one yet in the greater Montreal area. The only one being the press unit now. But enough of that. So I conclude by saying that it's a fine electric SUV. But stay tuned, please, for my impressions of the Lyriq coming up right now. Here I am once more climbing out of back to school traffic. I'll be really honest with you, it's almost 1 p.m. at this point. I don't understand. Okay, so Lyriq. I couldn't say all the negative-ish things about the two vehicles in the MDX, so I saved a couple for the Lyriq. One of them being the on-throttle, off-throttle thump, which is kind of actually really annoying, especially in stop-and-go traffic. I'm not sure why it actually exists or why it's there, but especially if you have auto hold set up, which I love doing, it's not cool. It's annoying, and it really breaks the premiumness of the vehicle. The other thing, and I'll start by saying that both vehicles are very quiet on the highway. It's actually quite impressive. However, below 38 or 39 kilometers an hour, there's an electric motor noise, which in both cases, and I said the same thing in the Blazer, cannot be shut off, and it is unbelievably annoying, like terribly annoying. And it's really, really loud. Even with the windows up, if you're not listening to music, it penetrates into the cabin. And it's something else that mars the premium driving experience of the vehicle. Like I said in the MDX, now I'm on the highway, the surface is not that great. I don't know, now again, back to back, immediately one after the other on the same road. I think maybe the MDX, because of the larger sidewalls, is a little bit smoother, but I can't actually quantify the difference. But point is, ride is still way too harsh. It just, everything penetrates into the cabin, especially at lower speeds. It's unpleasant. What is pleasant, however, is that the Lyriq, when you take the dual motor all-wheel drive setup, comes with 500 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque, same 102 kilowatt-hour battery. The range is slightly better. I don't know how that is, 494 kilometers compared to 489. Maybe it's a 300-pound difference. I'm not sure. But yeah, the power is very nice. As I said, I have my individual configured, and it pulls very, very nicely, and exactly as you would want your electric SUV to perform. I don't know if you can hear that noise, but there's a slight rattle. It comes and it goes. It's not always there, so I'm not sure if it's a question of seats or something else in the vehicle, but anyhow. The real bottom line is that, same 5-link suspension, is that, oh my goodness, does the Lyriq look and just project more of a premium aspect. And as I'm saying that, I just remembered another thing. I mentioned in the MDX that you have the paddle, right, for the regen braking on the left-hand side of the steering wheel. In the Lyriq, it's not a switch, it's progressive. So a little bit of pressure, a lot of pressure, a little bit more off. It is magnificent. In fact, in the Lyriq, and same in the MDX, I haven't even used the one-pedal drive mode. And even less so, even thinking about it, in the Lyriq because of the paddle, because it's actually quite aggressive when you squeeze it as hard as you can. That is a brilliant touch. So here's that same expansion joint. It's only about, I don't know, 1/3 of an inch tall. Almost feels like it's 3 inches tall. But yeah, I don't think I mentioned it, but I love the column shifter. Just overall, the Lyriq is a better bargain, more value packed, better designs, EV, And it's terrible to say, but there's no reason to get the MDX unless it's heavily discounted. And even then, honestly, really, with the presentation and the premium effect of everything you see, even if it was $10,000 cheaper. But in the segment, I mean, there are a number of players that are here and that are on their way. The Model Y comes up also, but no, not even remotely close. The Audi Q6 e-tron is probably the one I'm most curious about. I have not driven it, but I've driven the Q8, and it's quite impressive with range being kind of sad. But otherwise, the Lyriq is a serious player. I mean, the Benz offerings are okay, but just far too expensive, and the EV tech is not any more impressive than this. And I don't even know if I just mentioned it, but I'm thinking of it now again. It's just butt ugly compared to this. So that leaves, like a Lexus RZ, which is no same. So honestly, right now the Macan is going to be way too expensive. I don't know if I'm skipping over anything at the moment. But this might be the best player in the segment right now. For content, for value, for performance, and efficiency. Bravo, Cadillac Lyriq. And I'm really looking forward to finding out more about the optic. That should be even more, at least in my opinion, when it's smaller. Most of the time it's better. So that should it should impress me. And a final question, why no rear window wipers? I know the aerodynamics, maybe things don't accumulate as they do on a coupe, but anyway. That's it, I'm done. Lyriq for the win.